Welcome to Stay Sparked. On this show, we explore how to stay inspired in the modern world through the most profound lessons from Burning Man, relationships, entrepreneurship, psychedelics, spirituality, travel, and more.
On this episode, we talked about men's and women's groups as people who identify as men and women, and the power and importance of getting together in a safe container with people you identify with.
We talk about how much these groups have transformed our own personal journeys and inspired us to live our best lives.
And we also discuss how best to find a group. And if you have difficulty finding a group, perhaps you can start your own. Enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to Stay Sparked. We are three longtime friends and also burners who have been inspiring each other for over a decade, and we are here to share conversations aimed to inspire and light you up. Thank you so much for listening. If you've been enjoying these conversations, we absolutely appreciate you taking a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast, and please share to help spread the sparks. I'm Betsy.
I'm Halcyon.
And I am Giannis.
I am the founder of the Power Affirmation Project, inspiring life skills for sustainable happiness.
I am the host of the Hug Nation YouTube channel and the Love More Fear Less t-shirt store.
And I am the founder and CEO of New World Nutritionals, a nutritional supplement company with products designed to improve and elevate your state of mind.
Amazing. We always love starting these conversations with gratitude. So, Halcyon, would you like to start us off with what you're grateful for today?
Yes, I am feeling grateful for my first ever visit to Catalina Island. I went with a men's retreat and got to experience this beautiful island in Southern California that I'd never seen, never been to. And it was just so beautiful to get away from technology, had no phone service, and just be around fellow human beings and laugh and connect, and just super grateful for a new experience in a new place.
Amazing. So beautiful. How about you, Giannis? What are you grateful for today?
Today, I am grateful for my gym. The gym that I work out at it was one of those days that all the machines I wanted to use were available when I wanted them, which isn't always the case. And it was perfect weather to work out in the outdoor section. And it was had a really good workout, which I needed. I've been a little bit slightly under the weather and also just busy with other stuff. So it was good to get into a position to kind of move my body and really kind of work out a few things. So I'm grateful for having that access to that.
Amazing. Yes, that feels so good. Get those endorphins going. I will share my gratitude right now is for this amazing tool called tribal markers. They are a body painting marker that is made mostly of plants. And over the last couple of years, I've been getting to play with them. And this last weekend, I was so blessed to get to paint a 9-month pregnant belly with these tribal markers in a really beautiful ritual and ceremony. And it was so fun and so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful to have that as a tool to be able to make offerings. And then I also got to use them at a little festival I went to last weekend as well, Utopia, which is formerly the San Diego DCOM. And they're just really amazing to be able to keep in my pocket and just be able to tag people and just bring the festive color to whatever environment it is.
So
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I've seen those tribal markers around, and they're fun. They're fun, especially
so fun. Well, they really they promote ritual. They create a sort of a ceremony in a way, which is like one of my favorite things. So all right, well, let's dive into our topic today, shall we? We are feeling inspired, you guys out there, to share on a conversation that all three of us have gotten to explore: gender groups or men and women's groups. Throughout the years, all three of us have participated in these sort of just gatherings that really focus on these just men or just women, and we felt inspired to just explore conversation around what that's been for us, what value it's brought for us, just the evolution of what these kinds of experiences have really brought into our lives. And so I'd love to start us off with a little inquiry. Since we have two male-bodied people here, I'd love to hear from both of you guys. Any sparks around what are some of the things that you've gained from being part of some men's groups over the years?
I'll jump in. I mean, I have been in I'm in 3 men's groups currently and have been in a number over the years. And I mean, first off, there's something just about groups, and there's something about within a safe container being able to listen and learn from experiences that are beyond just your own. You know, what the grand adventure of life is self-inquiry and learning who you are, but you only can learn from one lifetime's worth of experience. And so when you connect with people and who share their truth, not their facade or their story or what they think they're supposed to say, but when people are sharing their actual experiences and their struggles, you get to magnify the wisdom through other people's experience. And so that's you know, whatever the common thread is, when you have a safe container where people can share it, you know, we're talking about this gender specific, but there are experiences that as a man, I can only have, you know, 80, 90, 100 years worth of those experiences. But if you have a bunch of people together, you have hundreds of years worth of experiences that you can learn from one another. And I just think that's just so powerful.
Now that's a great way to frame it. And that you know, getting together in groups like that allows you access to knowledge and experience and wisdom, and that you might not otherwise, you know, have access to. The thing that for me that makes the like gender specific gatherings really potent and really powerful, in my experience, was things might be different now, now that I'm older. But when I was younger, just getting together with groups and having the presence of, well, which is kind of funny for me to say, but having the presence of women around, it's like women are not trying to be, in my experience, they're not trying to be distracting. They're just trying to live their lives. But as a younger man, I found women distracting. So it was good for me. It was good for me for my first experience with men's groups was to not be, you know, not be around that, and to have the distraction taken off the table, so to speak. And which I said is funny, because actually I frankly, at this point in my life, I kind of prefer the company of women to to men, when like in a one-on-one or in a smaller group setting. I don't know why that is. I've kind of always been like that somewhat. But I have a lot more female friends than I do have male friends, which is maybe another topic for another time. But getting into men's groups, my experience with men's groups first was the kind of the stereotype of what a lot of people I feel men's groups are. It was like, okay, we're going to go out in the woods, we're going to like take off our shirts, we're going to beat our chests, we're going to bang on these drums, or we're going to cry and hug and fall into each other's arms, and it's going to be a return to manhood or whatever. That never, I did that once, and it was good actually, but it never really appealed to me. There was always, it felt performative a little bit, and I always kind of envied how women could get together and just circle up and just drop in and just really kind of be present and see each other. And I wanted to do a men's thing where that's what we did, where there wasn't any stuff, where we just got together and we just talked, and like mindfully, consciously, with purpose, but without the need, the desire to be physical. And I wasn't really finding that, so I ended up kind of creating that. And about 10 years ago, did a men's group, led a men's group for about, we gathered once a month for a year, and it was fantastic. And just really getting to know men in the community, and really, you know, again, like how we say, like tapping into that wisdom and that experience and knowledge, and it really felt like I gained a lot and was able to offer a lot in that experience. So yeah, so I really loved it.
That was my first men's group, was yours. And that was incredibly impactful for me for the reasons that you mentioned that I didn't really get into until I was in the situation and felt it. I did not feel like I was distracted, or I didn't feel like I was posturing, at a party. I thought I was being pretty authentic. But with the shift to a men's only group, and we're talking, we've been to this before the show, we're talking from our experiences with a gender specific gathering, and we imagine that there are all different, however you identify, there is a value to congregating within a category that you identify with. So when we're speaking about men's and women's, we hope we're not being exclusive in that, but we're speaking to our experiences. And so my experience was this really powerful awareness that without the dynamic of a party with men and women, there was this vulnerability that people slipped into. And especially, I think it requires role modeling, but as people like yourself role modeled a vulnerability and a confession of humanity that was so, I didn't realize how absent it was in masculine expression. There is a holding it together. There is a, I'm doing great. But in a men's group, when someone says, I'm struggling with XYZ, and suddenly you have these nodding all around the table of everyone going, me too, me too, me too. Oh my gosh, I struggle with that. The relief when you feel like you are not the only one who doesn't have their shit together, it's like, you get to let go of all that kind of self-guilt about not being good enough when you realize, oh, we're all struggling. And that was transformative, just to have that experience in that group.
Indeed. And Betsy, I'm curious, and us talking about our experience with the men's groups, do you feel like there's any resonance with you and your experience with women's groups? I'm curious as to how you feel the similarities are and the differences are.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first, I just love to speak to, how beautiful it is for the men that I know, like you two, and many men that commit to doing men's work and coming together to do these kinds of practices to feel, right? It's what you guys are talking about is giving yourselves permission and creating a safe place to experience the rawness of emotions, right? Where it feels like in much of our society, men are not really provided an opportunity to feel and emote, except for anger, right? Boys don't cry, and those kinds of things, right, are sort of projected on the men. And so I love that there are places like these men's groups that you're talking about where you can be vulnerable and real and authentic and actually share some of your struggles. And it is very different to do it when there is the other gender is not present. So I honor you guys for doing the work.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I will share from my experience of doing women's circles, women's groups, women's masterminds. I feel like it's always been something that I've been drawn to. Even since I was 16, I had a group of women in my life, and I remember this very specific moment. It was my 16th birthday. I had come downstairs after getting ready, and most of my friends were women except for my one gay friend who, he was non-binary, I guess you would call it. He was one of the girls. And it was like the first women's circle I ever experienced. I walked in the room and everyone happened to be in a circle. And it was so beautiful. Each person got a chance to share just simply. It was very organic. And there was something that came over me that just felt so primal. It felt so right. It felt so good. And then the very first time I sat in a traditional women's circle or a more structured women's circle, I was in my 20s, and it was with a bunch of women who had been doing it for many years, some maybe elders compared to where I was at. And when I sat in that circle, I was absolutely blown away by the wisdom that was coming through. And what that really did for me was helped me to start to receive and learn from these women that were farther along on their spiritual path than me. And it helped me to find my voice. It helped me to find a perspective around so many different things in life. And I remember that day when I sat in that circle, I knew that this was a part of my journey going forward, getting to be with other women who share openly and get to sing together or share poetry or just get to honor each other and do these different practices that are intentional. And really, if you think about it, these kinds of circles, women's circles especially, have been happening for thousands of years. This is a very sacred practice, coming together in the moon circles or moon lodges, right? Or coming to bleed together and to sing and do all of these things until maybe some time ago when that was banned and it was considered witchcraft, and a lot of it changed. Now we're coming back into a time where it's much more available and it's safe again to do these things without being punished for it. And so it is a part of I feel part of my DNA to come together and to be in circle and sit around a fire and to really commune with other people that are similar to me. As for me, I identify as a woman. And so it's been really healing. It's been so inspiring. And yeah, I've gotten to experience many different types. And I highly, highly recommend every person find a place to be able to connect with people that are of your similar nature, whether that is, a transgender circle or a men's circle, women's circle, whatever that is. It's a really beautiful way to be able to get to know who we are and remember our true self.
Mhm.
Interesting that the content of your circles with singing and poetry, that has never been a part of my men's groups that I've been in. Usually, within the container, sometimes there are topics, but generally it is an exploration of wins and struggles, and just sharing experiences as a man. But uh, but but no drum beating, but no
Okay,
singing or poetry.
did I say singing and poetry? I meant pillow fights and lingerie. That's all we do
That's what I
ever.
wanted to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, women's circles, that's all we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. We just talk about boys and
Mm.
dance around half naked.
I think I've seen that movie. So, um, Halcyon, I wanted to ask you, because it sounds like Betsy, you just kind of like had your experience and you dove right into it with a big yes. Um, so for Halcyon, I want to, and I think I spoke a little bit to my resistance about it. What was your resistance initially before you ever started? If you had any resistance, I was hoping you could speak to that a little bit and be like, what was that? What was your resistance to that, and how did you work through that?
It's interesting because I feel like, I was raised in I think I was a little far on the sensitive new age guy. Um, and so I'd heard of men's groups being a place where tough men get in touch with their feelings. And I felt like that's not necessarily what I need. And so I felt almost like I didn't think that what I understood men's groups to be, to give me the healing that I, thought I needed. And it wasn't until I actually got to, be around men who were contemporaries and realizing that no matter what, well, actually take it back. Most of the people that I've been in men's groups with, there is a thread connecting us, often through Burning Man, or some aspect of a pretty liberal, artistic, creative, within some aspect of their experiences. That doesn't mean to say that there aren't doctors and lawyers and realtors and all those things, but there is the people that I have been drawn together with in groups. I feel like we've already started at a place of acceptance of little beyond the normal status quo, what a man should be. And so that was the big thing that helped me get through it, was that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And it was just, human beings being real, but having this added kind of, we by saying it's just going to be men, we already took a step in saying that we've consensually agreed upon that this is going to be a place where we're going to be vulnerable. And then from there, I just humans really just sharing their experiences.
Mhm.
I'd love to pop in and share on that question. about resistance because, yeah, as much as I have loved being part of women's groups and circles, I've also had to navigate a lot of resistance because I have sometimes have felt a lot of anxiety around being in certain groups because, I love us women, but sometimes we just get so chatty and it just keeps going and going and going. And I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom or I have to go tend to something and I actually don't want to be here. And there's been a lot of times where the container, quote unquote, is not held in integrity by the facilitator, which can be very challenging. And honestly, I feel like that has been something I've talked to quite a few people about that creates a big turnoff. I have one woman as an example I talked to not long ago, and I told her that I hold these short circles at clothing exchanges I do, and she said, I don't want to sit in a circle. And I asked her why, and she said in previous experiences of women's circles, it was super woo-woo, and it was also very long, and she just didn't want to talk in the group. And of course, I've been there where it's like, oh God, here we go. We're gonna have to eye gaze for like 20 minutes, and then we have to listen to this person talk, and then, nobody's taking time, and they say, okay, each person has to go, and each person goes for 5 minutes, like 45 to an hour later, you're like still in the circle. And so I get it. It's kind of put a bad taste in her mouth. And so I feel like there's definitely an art to be able to, find a circle that works for you or find a group that works for you that is authentic, that is aligned to what your values are. And I know for me, I like to learn by contrast. So when I facilitate, I always try and be mindful of those kinds of things because I just absolutely do not want to sit in a circle that is going to be hours and hours and hours long, you
Right.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a cue that I took from when I was starting the men's circle back in the day. I took a cue from a friend who spoke to that, and she said that I was asking her about our women's circles, and she said that a lot of times, yeah, it's like if you're not careful, it can devolve into everybody sitting around listening to one person complain about their relationship or complain about their family, and everybody wants to help and listen, but it requires a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just moderation. Just like you got to really be on it and make sure that things stay focused. And so I took that to heart. And so when we gathered up for my circle, it did actually happen with one guy was going into it about his relationship, and I let it kind of run for a little bit, but then I very firmly, gently but firmly, kind of steered it around like, okay, well, this is not really the place for that. Like none of us are qualified therapists. So we can listen to you, but we gotta like keep it moving, and we have to acknowledge and make sure that you feel heard and this and the other thing. And it worked out fine, but it was definitely I got firsthand you know uh was witnessing of how like it's true with any circle, any gathering, like if any intentional gathering, there's got to you got to be on it if you're the person putting it together to really. And it helps to be if you're participating in it, even if you're not running, participating in, like, being aware of what people have bandwidth for, and dropping in and making yourself heard, and also realizing it is a group practice, like it is a group gathering. So I'm there to witness, I'm there to be witness, I'm there to participate. And that can help you not get fixated on your stuff or other people's stuff.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's a training ground. I know for me, it has been such a learning on how to be succinct with my words because I
Mm.
learned by contrast and where those edges are, those triggers are, those moments where I have felt like just frustrated that somebody's sharing for so long has inspired me to make sure to be really mindful on the way that I share. Because I've also been the one at times where I'm just going on and on and on and don't realize it, as an unconscious kind of like taking up so much space and not mindful of the rest of the group. And so I feel like it's a beautiful opportunity to practice the refinement of our expression.
Yeah, most of my groups have had specific, like, timed participation, and so you get a reminder. But I also feel like one of the things I've really enjoyed in several of the groups that I'm in, after trust is built in the group and relationships are built, there have been times when a brother at some point is going through something big and someone suggests, I'd like to give more time, or I think we should focus on this thing. And it's such a beautiful thing. We're like, yes, we have a container, we have these rules, and this is important. We're going to shape it in an artistic way, let go of the science of what's been working, and we're going to lean into what it needs in this moment. And there's been super powerful experiences when we've collectively, let it be about one person. After the trust is built, I think if you just show up and say, all right, let me tell you all about my life. It's like, but eventually it can be big.
Yeah, that's an important delineation. Yeah. Making sure having the freedom to really dive in with like one person's experience, and can be really powerful. But yes, that trust does need to be built, over at least having showed up previously to,
And that's like speaking to the consistency element as well, right? Because there's a big difference between just gathering one time versus in a consistent manner. I've been in women's groups that have gone on for more than 3 or 4 years. I was one where we met weekly, virtually for 4 years. And it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. I'm so glad that I committed to that. It was not always easy, but it was really a training ground for so many things to be able to have that commitment, have that devotion to these women, to practice holding space and listening, practice speaking, practice leading meditations, just really getting to learn so much in that. And I feel like that consistency was a huge part of the process.
Yeah, I feel, we've been focusing on the gender specific gatherings and circles and groups and meetups, and I wonder if have you guys ever done a gathering like that was like, let's say, a women's circle that was focused on business, or a men's group that was focused on artistic, or creativity or sexuality or what have you. Have you guys done any like subject specific,
Hmm.
also gender specific groups as well?
Yeah, I started one many years ago called Sisters for Success. It was a women's mastermind, which was amazing because it was a group of 6 women who all were entrepreneurs, and it was a really beautiful place for us to get to brainstorm ideas and talk about our businesses. We did it for, I think, maybe 2 years or so. And I actually am in the process of now starting a new women's mastermind with a small group of women to get to have some accountability, to get to share what we're working on behind the scenes, get some feedback. I feel like masterminding about business with other visionaries and other women, for me personally, is really a beautiful way to stay inspired.
I have not, but I really love that idea. And not just, I mean, business, health, sexuality. I think it'd be really rich to have more specific topic related ongoing groups. I've had topics for a certain meeting before, but not like a specific, ongoing group with that deep dives into a topic. I love that idea.
What about, yes, you do. What about your gratitude circles?
Oh, good point. But that's not gender specific,
Oh, right.
but,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
which
but
is, that's still amazing. It's a really beautiful, consistent thing that you've been holding space for groups to come together with the common pillar and focus of gratitude.
and there's tons of overlap, in terms of like the things we're talking about, a lot of the ways that I have it set up, it is a container, it is time based, it's the agreement is that it's going to be a 30-minute experience, and people can stay after. But I think it's really important for people, if you're going to say, look, when you're there, you need to listen. I heard someone say once before a group saying, listen as if you're listening to a child form their first sentences. And I like, but if you're going to commit to that, you also got to know you're going to be released in 30 minutes or whatever the agreement is. If you feel like someone's going on and on and on and you don't know how long you're going to be there, you start to get the voices in your head like, ah. So having a container, having some sort of indication that we've begun, some sort of indication that we've ended, some sort of trust built in your moderation that someone's not going to take over. And these are all, whether it's men's or women's groups, these are all things that I think are part of the gratitude, as well as a big part of the gratitude is that exponential life experience through others sharing. And I continually feel like my life is richer because I am learning from others' experiences, not just, the story they tell the world, but their genuine struggles and genuine wins. And it's like people say, like, I read the news every day. I do too, but not the news that is in the paper about what's going wrong. My news is what the 12 people in the gratitude circle, what's going on in their lives. That's the news that I pay attention to every day. And because of that, my life is like times 12. I get to experience all this stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I feel we can that's really one of the best things to come out of these circles, I think, is that shared experience, like being in the presence of somebody else. And really, we've said it a few times already. I still think it's worth repeating that, being in the presence and having people share their experiences and their wisdom that's hard gained wisdom through their family experiences or just life experiences. It really does enrich. I feel it enriches my life. It just makes my world feel bigger, to know that the stuff that I'm going through is being dealt with on some level by everybody else. And it's good to have that reminder, because it's really easy to feel like that you're alone, or like nobody gets it, or that you're struggling and that you don't have support. You really do. And the groups are really fantastic for that.
Yeah. Earlier today at a gratitude circle, there was someone was sharing their success in a self-care practice of getting themselves to the gym, and they're kind of growing in their discipline. And then someone else shared their self-care practice of needing to be by themselves that day. And someone else shared a bunch of things that they had tried, and eventually they made it and went on a walk in the forest. And so it's like you're whether you are feeling stuck or wherever you're at, you get to witness all these other success stories of people in all these different ways that, at least for me, I get stuck in what I can think of in that moment. And to hear other people's life experiences, I suddenly go, oh, I could try that. Oh, that's a good idea. Or oh, you didn't try anything either? Okay, cool. I don't have to feel guilty that I'm in bed, and I haven't done anything today. There's just so much soothing and inspiration that comes out of it.
Totally. And there's something so powerful about voicing what's happening for us and being seen, right? There is, like, this example of they put some petri dishes with some different organisms, and they observed one and they left one in the dark. And the one that got observed actually had changes happen. The other one that did not get observed didn't have change, right? And so we are these organisms, and when we are observed and we're witnessed in whatever it might be, we actually can evolve and change. And the way that I like to think of it too is, if we are working through something internally, whether that is something wonderful going on in our life or something that's more challenging, it can be sometimes difficult to gain perspective on whatever the matter might be. But when it comes out, then we're able to see it from different angles. And then when we even ask for the support from our community or a group for perspective, then we're able to shift even more efficiently, right? Because we can start to see it, because it's out of our monkey mind, it's out of our consciousness, it's in this shared space. And I feel like that has always been one of the biggest things for me when I'm in a group and sharing, is being seen and gaining new perspectives. And one of the things that I do, or we do in this women's group, I'm in a women's group where we meet about quarterly, usually for the solstice and equinox. And when we each get a chance to share, we time it. It's usually anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And then we give a timer for reflections. And so then there's like 2 minutes of reflections, and there's only about 6 or 7 women in the group, so it goes by pretty quickly. And so it's always nice to feel seen. Somebody offers back, wow, Betsy, I've seen you grow so much through whatever it is you're talking about, and I really honor your commitment to such and such, whatever it is. And it's like those little boost of encouragement. These people have known me for a very long time, and it's really helpful for me to feel like I can keep going.
Nice.
Yeah, that feeling of being seen and that feeling of belonging is so incredibly therapeutic. When I do the gratitude circles, after every share, I try to reflect back something to make sure that person knows that they weren't just speaking into an abyss, that yes, that was heard. I have a friend who's a coach, and when people come to them, one of their quotes is like, do you need therapy or you just need community? Because so much of the healing that we need happens through belonging and just feeling safe enough to allow our authentic selves to blossom. And that's one of the things that I think a group can do, is you get to feel safe enough to be authentic, and that is 90% of healing.
How do people find a group? You're sparking something for me. For people out there listening, maybe they don't have a community. I love that saying. Do you need therapy or do you need community? How does somebody find their community? How does somebody find their women's group? How does someone find their men's group? It's always a really, I think, important question to be asking.
Yeah, for me, I'm blessed to have a pretty far-reaching community where somebody's always up to something. So, like I've actually directed or suggested some female friends of mine who were talking about circles, who were like, let's say, new in town, and be like, hey, let me pair you up with these people, because I know they like to circle up on occasion, so maybe you can get some get that women's circle mojo going for you. So we likely all know somebody who's participating in that. Otherwise, just the usual avenues I would offer, where there's, like through places like, through Meetup or some, various Facebook groups or whatever. Those are all places that I found that people are able to get some benefit from. So that's been working for me.
Or maybe just start your own.
Or start
That
your
doesn't
own.
work, right? Yeah, I think you did
Yeah.
that. That's why I started my first one. I was like, man, I really wish I had some women to get together to talk about business with. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm not seeing that, so let's see. Let's figure this out. And there's so much resources out there on how to start groups and how to run groups, and it's a really beautiful thing to just create something if you want it.
I think that's a great suggestion and a great question about how to find it. I know that recently I was looking into more places to speak openly and deeply in group, and had some trouble finding a place that felt safe for me. There's some really beautiful sharing that happens like in 12-step communities, but that's a pretty specific group with a specific focus. I went to some integration circles, like psychedelic integration circles. That was really deep and profound, and I got a lot out of. But I've been really actively looking into that, which is one of the reasons why I create gratitude circles, is because that's a way for me to find the nourishment that I'm looking for. And then within men's group, I guess now that I think about it, I spent a lot of time in groups. So clearly this is medicine that works for me. And yet I'm still looking for more. So, but I love your idea that, if you're looking for it, just putting it out there that you're looking, I think people will then connect you to ones that exist. And if you're looking and then people are looking for it as well, they will say, me too, me too. And then maybe you find enough people that you can do it. And with Zoom, with an online gathering, it ends up being, you can find a community of people that is beyond just, your physical neighborhood, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to speak to you real quick about what Betsy, said, but we've all said so far today, was, the idea of, if you build it, they will come. Because looking for something, when I initially was looking for it, I wasn't finding exactly what I wanted. So I created, or kind of like listed, like an outline of if I was going to gather with a group of men, what would I want that to look like? Wrote that out. And then I just reached out to some male friends, and all of them, like literally all of them, were like, gosh, yes. They were like ready for that and eager for that. And I was really somewhat surprised. I'm like, wow, okay. I actually had a list of like 20 some odd people that I thought would be into it. But I didn't want to get that big. I was thinking, I had a list of 20 and I, probably keep it to 10 or 12. But like the first 12 people I reached out were like, yes, I want to be part of that. And it was like, wow, okay, fantastic. So you might be surprised just putting it out there, this thing that I'm wanting, maybe I'm not alone in wanting that, and put it out there. If you can't find it, create it. And you might be surprised about what response you get with that. You might be creating the very thing that people are looking for.
It's so true. Build it and they will come.
Indeed.
I feel like we could probably do a whole other episode on like tips and tricks for running a group. But I think
Yeah.
that like the because you mentioned like 20 people, and I've had pretty difficult conversations in some of my groups where we have to cap it, like can we hold this intimacy with any more people? There's great guys we would love to have here, but if that means everybody gets 3 minutes to talk instead of 5 minutes, then suddenly it's a very different thing. Or if you get so big that you really need consistency too. So you need people to say, are you going to commit to be here every time? And but no matter what, I would say is if we're going to be pushing people or encouraging people to start one, it does require role modeling. You need to be the one that shows people this is a place where we are vulnerable, and let people know that it's safe by you showing good courage to do it yourself.
And intention is everything too. If the intention is to talk about business, then you create a structure that's what the conversation is about. And kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Janus, about the just holding that structure and guided facilitation. If someone goes off talking about something that's non-related to business, then to be able to know how to gracefully guide back into the intention for being there. And I think also speaking to the number, it does make a big difference. Like, for example, a mastermind is usually much better when there's less people, right? 6 to 8 people is a really good number because then each person gets maximum amount of time or even less. But a different group might do better with bigger numbers. I know personally through the pandemic, I ran a virtual group of women, and I did a few different beta tests. I did one that was 6 people, and then I did one that was 8, and then I did one that was 12. And I found the sweet spot was between 8 and 10. 12 was too many, 6 was too few. And so, yeah, I think it's going to depend on each. And then also, like, if you have bigger numbers coming to your groups in person, then as a facilitator, you get to be mindful around how you manage the time, and I think you're right on. We should definitely do a conversation about facilitation tips and tricks and ways to be able to inspire y'all out there to, if you want to facilitate, or if you're already a facilitator of circles or groups, I think it would be a really great conversation. So let's bookmark that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like we got some good stuff covered here, and so love to close it up with some sparks. What do you guys say? You got a closing spark on this conversation?
Sure. I would just, reiterate just how much I have grown from this, and how just to be open to what you imagine a men's group or a women's group is like does not necessarily have to be what it is. And that trusting yourself and others to create a container that allows you to reveal, your truth is so powerful. And that, yes, therapy is a tool that you should have as well, but being able to share your human journey with people in a established container with time limits and with expectations and with ground rules and with agreements, like there's something so liberating about that, that I would encourage it to be a part of every human's healing journey. And I wish you luck.
Yeah, fantastic. For me, the idea and the reminder, do we need therapy or do we need community? The answer to do we need community is always yes. And to recognize that if we're going to create a group or even participate in a group, that these are two different things. And it's important to go with the idea like Betsy, like you applied with the numbers. And when it comes to groups, less is more. So you can get some really good work done with a not a great large number of people. Doesn't require that. So even if it's a group, I've had participated in groups of like just like four. I'm one of four people, and it's been good. So the idea of less is more. Keep it to community as opposed to try to be trying to have it be a therapy session for somebody or group therapy, where then very few of us are qualified for that. So just kind of remember that and go out there and see what we can do.
Mm, thank you. I love that. I'll share my closing spark. It's something that we didn't really touch on too much, but has been a huge part of my circling practice, has been really harnessing the power of the moon cycles and the nature cycles to gather with the people in my life, women in particular. There's just something so primal in nature to circle for the full moon or for the new moon or for the spring equinox, summer solstice. These types of occasions just feel really resonant to gather and to really set intentions. We have this cosmic energy that supports us. And for me personally, it's a really beautiful way to get intentional with these times, is gathering with other people that also feel the calling to be intentional and get clear about what it is that we are choosing to create, and what is the energy that we're putting out and that we're calling in. What are we letting go of? How can we really harness this power more efficiently? So that's my spark, is to find ways to circle with the moon or with the solstice and equinoxes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that.
Amazing. It doesn't
Absolutely.
need
Yeah.
to be men or women. We're all connected to the moon. We're all connected to seasons.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, let's close it up with how we can find you guys in the world. So, Janus, you want to share how people can find you?
Certainly. My nutritional supplement company is New World Nutritionals, spelled NU World Nutritionals. And we are online with mushroom-based nutritional supplements that are all geared for improving and alleviating symptoms of, situations like ADHD, PTSD even, helps improve your focus, your memory, your learning, and it's actually helping a lot of people with forms of dementia and Parkinson's and such. So we have a main microdose product is our big seller, and you can use the code SPARKED for 10% off of all of our products. And yeah, check us out online, and feel free to reach out to me directly via the website. I love to geek out on this stuff. So if you're interested to know, I'm happy to help.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you. What are you, Halcyon?
My daily groups, which are at noon and 6 and 3 in the morning every day, I lead the ones at noon and 6. You can get to them through my site at johnstin.com, JOHNSTYN.com. So if you are getting sparked, it's a just tip your toe in and join us and share. I would love to meet you in that realm. And if you're interested in one-on-one connection and coaching and community, I'm available for that as well, all at johnstin.com.
Amazing. So good. And y'all can find me at poweraffirmation.com, which is the direct link to some of the projects I'm working on, which really inspires tools for building sustainable happiness, reprogramming limiting beliefs using journaling, meditation, movement, breath. I lead and facilitate women's groups online, and have a journal called the Power Affirmation Journal, working on some more fun products to go with that. And I am also available for one-on-one in-person work. I am a body worker and energy healer, sound healer, do all kinds of wonderful ritual practices to create deeply nourishing experiences for transformation. And so, yeah, you can check me out on poweraffirmation.com. And of course, there is a link in the show notes for a free gift for you guys if you want to have an audio affirmation sent to you directly to hear my voice whispering wonderful affirmations into your ear. Love to send that to you guys.
Oh, well, before you close us out with an affirmation, I just want to give one more reminder to people that we would love to get your reviews. We'd actually love to read your review on a future episode. So make sure you leave it on the Apple Podcast site with 5 stars, of course. Any less, and you're dead to us. But we'd love to read your review on a future episode. Betsy, would you close us out with an affirmation?
Here it is. I leave lots of reviews for the Stay Sparked podcast. I leave plenty of reviews for the Stay Sparked podcast. We do appreciate it. It really does help us spread our message farther and wider. So even just taking a moment to send a little love our way, we appreciate it. And so in Stay Sparked tradition, I will close us out with an affirmation to support us in feeling good, feeling alive, feeling aligned. I will share one of my favorite affirmations that has been fueling me. So if you like, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath, and you can repeat these words with me. I am exactly where I need to be and with who I need to be with in every single moment. I am exactly where I need to be and with who I need to be with in every single moment. I am always right on time. I am always right on time. I am always right on time. And everything is working out in the highest and maximum advantage. Everything is always working out in the highest and maximum advantage. All is well, all is well, all is well. I am sparked, I am sparked, I am sparked, I am sparked. Thank you guys for listening. Stay sparked out there.
Stay sparked, people.